Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess Wise. Today we are going to discuss our next topic, that is the bishop and knight checkmate. Today I am going to show you a technique based on the bishop and knight checkmate. We will see a simple technique. I call it the W method. Okay. So why W method? Because the knight will move in the shape of a W. Let us understand how to get the mate. So I am trying to make this in two parts. Today we are going to see the elementary part, okay, or I say the end stage of the mate. So from here the mate will happen in 19 moves. First, what we note, whenever the bishop and knight push the opponent's king to the corner, the opponent's king will always go to the opposite corner of the bishop. Whichever bishop we have, he will try to hide there, because the mate only happens on that corner which is the bishop's color. Okay, in that corner only the mate will happen. So black king will run away to the opposite corner, knowing that mate cannot happen on that side. Okay, and while blocking the opponent's king, we ensure that the knight has to guard the other color. Bishop is on white, so the knight has to guard the other color. The corner is other one. And now what we see, all the squares on the last rank, see this one, this one, this one and this one, all these has to be guarded by the knight only, because bishop will try to guard g8, e8, c8 and a8, and the mate is going to happen on the a8 square. So from f7 we guard h8, from d7 we will guard f8, and from b7 we will guard d8. So the three squares which we get, f7, d7 and b7, and while traveling to those squares we will use this square and this square. So see, W is formed like this. So the knight is going to move throughout in this W. That is why I call this the W method. Let us see now how to get the checkmate. So white will first start pushing the black king to the corner. Right now the king doesn't have the h8 square. h7 is guarded by the bishop, so white starts by wasting the bishop move. So first bishop d3. This will force the king to go to f8. King f8 forced, and now bishop immediately controls the g8 square. So this is the way we snatched away both the squares on one corner, and we are pushing his king to the other side. Now there are two things that we need to remember after the move ke8. King will try to run away to the other side of the board, or king will try to be underneath the knight. One of the things the black king can try. So first what we will do, we will block the d7 square. Moment the king is diagonally placed, we will use the knight move, and we are heading towards getting our own knight to d7. Not only we are blocking his king, we want to get knight d7. Now black has two choices. Either he will try to run from d8, or he will try to remain on f8. So in the first showing you right now, if he every time goes underneath on the last rank, then what to do? So king f8, then knight d7 check, king e8, knight has to be protected by the king because knight wants to guard the f8 square. King runs to d8, then kd6. This is a very important moment. We want this opposition, and you should always note that from the other side the king cannot escape, because after ke8, bg6 check, bishop will force him back, and again critical moment, after kc8 we want knight c5. Okay, so right now white just wastes the move bh5. We can do it other way around also. First knight c5, kc8 and then waste the move. That is also possible, but this is easier to remember. So as soon as the king comes to c8, we play knight c5 and block its path. Again there are two choices, kb8 and kd8. Right now first let us discuss. The king will try to remain underneath the king and on the last rank. Again knight b7 check, kc8, king c6, kb8 forced. We are again using the same pattern. kb6 checking opposition and blocking the a7 square at the same time. King c8 trying to run away, but bishop g4 check, pushing him back, and here either we waste the knight move, bishop move right now, or the knight has to move. We know that the knight will deliver checkmate from a6. So the last knight move will be outside this W. Otherwise, all the knight moves are happening within this W. Okay. So knight c5, king a8, and now knight a6 would be stalemate. So the bishop has to waste the move. So bishop had to either waste the move before, or it could have done. It could do now. So let's say bishop e6, any square on the diagonal from d7 to h3 would do. On c8 the bishop will get attacked, so we are not going bc8. So king goes to b8, knight a6 check, king a8, and bishop d5 checkmate. So the mate happens on the bishop's corner. Okay. Now we will see what happens if the king tries to run away from the other side. It looks like king is able to escape. So let's go back to the starting position and we will again do from there now. So quickly do it once again. King bishop goes to d3, king f8, bishop h7, forcing the king to e8. As soon as king goes to e8, knight e5, knight is heading to the d7 square. So one pattern we remembered, how when the king is on the last rank, how we push him to the other corner. Now the second pattern we have to remember. So king runs to d8, k e6, knight wants to go to d7. See, we are aiming at a position where we know that king will try to escape from c7, b6, a5, and sometimes from c6, then b6 and c5. So this b6 and the c5 squares will be guarded by the knight. Okay. So kc7, knight d7, and now king can go to c6. So this is one of the most important positions where we use the move bd3. See, it looked as though the king will be able to escape from the other side, but bishop and knight, they are smartly controlling both the colors and it is forcing the king to go back. Okay, so do note that if kb7 was played, then also we could have gone to d3, blocking a6. Now the king moves back, kc7, now we again snatch the diagonal. So this is forcing the king to go back to the d8 square. So kd8, we know as soon as king goes to d8, we take the opposition. So this position is familiar to us by now, because from the other side the king cannot escape. So this again bg6 check, king d8, and we want to waste the move in this situation. Bishop comes to h5. As soon as the king comes to c8, we go knight c5. Just now we discussed what happens to kd8. This time we will see what happens if the king tries to escape from b8. So after kb8, same idea, king goes to c6. We know after kc8 we will again add nb7. So black can try king a7, but knight has nicely guarded the a6 square. So white can just use the bishop. Bishop g4, snatching the c8 square. So king has to go back to b8 or a8. After kb8, kb6, king goes to a8, and same idea, knight a6 would be stalemate. So we can waste the bishop move now. Maybe bd7, king b8, knight a6 check, forcing king a8, and bishop c6 checkmate. So this technique is actually not very difficult, but when we think about bishop and knight checkmate, we feel that, oh my god, it's such a very difficult thing and a complex thing. So it is not taught to beginners because it is very difficult. Do note that this end part is not very difficult, but it is slightly complex to push the king to the corner. That is little advanced stuff, but as we play the game of chess for a longer time, we begin to understand the properties of bishop and knight. And when we are cornering the king, that time we see wherever, if the king is, let's say, approaching this corner, and we have got the dark squared bishop, and we see the king is approaching that corner. So what we will do, we will have in mind that the knight should either come to b6 or the c7 square in order to guard a8. So we can plan the knight accordingly. So see, we can go to the move b4, force him back here, and see, knight will try to guard the c7 square. So here we can just waste the move. See, king moves here, knight comes to a6, king has to go to a8, will take the bishop away and take the knight to the c7 square soon, and from c7 we'll eventually get this position what we discussed right now, and the mate will happen that way on the other side. So that is the little complicated part, how to forcibly push the king to the corner. In future I will be covering that part also. I hope you are enjoying these lessons. Do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for your time.